University of Cincinnati College of Allied Health Sciences and the School of Social Work. We are going to record this session, so I will start recording this monetarily. We will send out a link to the recording in the next few days that includes closed captioning. I'm Tammy Brown, your presenter, actually your moderator for the presenters for this evening. I am a representative of the college's Leadership Council that works closely with the dean to support students and alumni from the college. And our dean actually happens to be joining us this evening. If you want to say a brief hello, Tina Whalen, we're putting you on the spot. There she is. Thanks, Tina.
I unmuted. I guess I muted, but I unmuted myself. I wasn't sure if I would be allowed to unmute or if Bree would have to do that. Anyway, welcome everyone. Thank you, Tammy, for being the facilitator, if you will.
Sure.
And I'm looking forward very much to hearing all this information. I think it's going to be a fascinating program. So welcome to everyone. Bree, as usual, thanks for all your good work.
Excellent. So included also on the slide for your reference, we have you all on mute to prevent feedback sound issues. If you have questions for our panelists, please type those in the chat. So open your chat. We will address those at the end of the time for Q&A. The event will end at 7 p.m. If we don't get to your questions that are entered into the chat, we will follow up with you directly about those questions. I want to quickly introduce Dr. Ruth Ann Van Loon, Department Chair for the School of Social Work, and invite her to say a few words of welcome. Dr. Van Loon.
Thank you, Tammy. And I want to add my welcome to this presentation and to thank our alumni panelists, Shannon Brown, Megan Riehaus, and Elizabeth Folk, for their participation tonight. They were students who were part of our Hartford Aging initiative many years ago. And so it's great to see what they've done with their careers. I also want to thank Tammy for moderating us and for the college for helping us bring attention to the topic of aging this year through this event, and hopefully next year through a bigger event, a symposium on aging, both supporting the James Gruber Endowed Fund for Aging Education. And Jim is here tonight with us this evening, so we wanted to say thank you to him for his support of the college and this fund, and we really appreciate his ongoing partnership with us. We hope to see all of you next year at events when we are in person, hosted by the school and by the school's alumni board. So thanks again, and welcome tonight.
Thanks, Dr. Van Loon. Now to get to our program and panelists, our first question for our panelists will also include introductions from each of them. So please show off, let us know who you are, what you do, what you've been doing, share your career pathway and what you want people to know about working with the aging population, such as key issues, challenges, or the benefits. We have Shannon Braun, Megan Riehaus, and Liz Fauke. 4 to 5 minutes each for each of you. Let's go ahead and start with Shannon.
Great. Hi, everyone. I'm Shannon Braun, and I am the director of the Center for Memory Support and Inclusion with Episcopal Retirement Services. So I've been in this role since about 3 weeks before the pandemic. So it's been a little over a year and a half, close to 2 years now. So I guess the question is to just share my career pathway and go from there. So I was in the health and gerontology track through the social work master's program. And my first job after graduate school was with Lifespan. And they still run the elderly services program in Butler County. So that was providing elders in the community with services such as Meals on Wheels, transportation, Lifeline buttons, and a lot of various services, with the idea that providing services in the home would help them stay as independent as they can be for as long as they can be. So I learned a lot doing that. I thought that was a really great intro job into social work, especially with aging seniors. Um, it was a crash course in all of the services and programs that are available to seniors in the community. So it was really kind of a great first career move for me. After that, I went to Bailey, which is a retirement community in Delhi. And so as long-term care social worker there, again, learned a ton and really recognized that in working with older adults, you're not just working with the older adults, you're often working with their families and their adult children, and that it really is kind of a family affair with working with the aging population. So that was a really great experience for me. And I think I learned a lot about working with a healthcare team and how to partner with the nurses and with the aides and with the therapy department, and how to advocate for your residents with the team. That was a really great experience. And then finally, well, and then I went to, the Alzheimer's Association. I was there for about 5 years, and I was the early stage program coordinator there, the Greater Cincinnati chapter of the Alzheimer's Association. And I helped people when they were newly diagnosed with Alzheimer's or any type of dementia. I would provide education and support to them and their loved ones, their families, their caregivers. So the way we defined early stage was that they were aware of their diagnosis and they understood that they were having cognitive changes in their brain. And so just providing them with whatever support that they needed at the time and kind of helping ease them into the disease process. And through that, I had an opportunity to partner with different nonprofits in the community and get interested and help kick off Dementia Inclusive Cincinnati. So I was a part of a team that was working on that initiative in trying to make the community more dementia inclusive. And it was really headed by Episcopal Retirement Services. So when they found funding to make it a full-time job, they offered me the job, and I've been there, like I said, since about 3 weeks before the pandemic. So it looks a little bit differently than it did when we first got going, but really things have really started to pick up in the last few months. So Episcopal Retirement Services, they owned Riehaus and Marjorie P. Lee in Hyde Park, and then they also have about 28 affordable living communities for seniors all throughout the area. And so I primarily provide education and support for individuals with dementia in the community at any of the communities that ERS owns, and also outside the community for Dementia Inclusive Cincinnati. And just wanting to make the community better prepared to communicate and interact with people with dementia and open it back up so that they have opportunities that should be afforded to them just living in our community. So it's been an interesting career path, and I've really learned so much along the way, and I really love working with this population. It's really important to me and really special.
Thanks a lot, Shannon. Wow, that's quite a journey. I really appreciate that. Next, we have Megan.
Hi, I'm Megan Riehaus. I have been a social worker since graduating from the master's program at UC in 2012. I was fortunate to find a part-time position at Mercy Health West Park as their residential care social worker. Soon after graduation, the part-time was perfect for me, and it was a wonderful first position as a social worker. I had the opportunity to work with the residents in residential care. So that means people who we would consider living in independent living or assisted living, helping them as they move in, kind of get used to living in a senior living community, adjust to the changes in their lives, their physical changes, often their cognitive changes, and help them to adjust and try to accept a little more assistance as their needs increase. It was wonderful to be a part of the team, working with our nurses, our wonderful aides, our therapy department, and also the whole staff. In a senior living community, you are working not only with those clinical care providers, but you're also working with all of the staff members, whether it's front desk, maintenance, dietary, laundry. Everyone plays an important role in the residents of a senior living community's lives. So it was a wonderful opportunity to be a part of that team, to make people feel more at home in their new home. From there, I was offered the opportunity to work at the Christ Hospital Health and Aging Center. The Health and Aging Center is a geriatric medical practice that specializes in the assessment of older adults for cognitive impairment. That was the opportunity to learn the assessment process and to be a part of that by participating in the psychosocial assessment of individuals who were showing signs of cognitive impairment. I was able to learn a lot about the assessment process, to learn the looking at the whole person, which includes not only that person and their report, but often or always including collateral information from those around them. So working with their family, friends, direct service providers, and other community resources they might have in determining what changes they're experiencing and how best to support them. So it was interesting. It taught me a lot about what is normal aging and what is not normal aging. And it allowed me to then help educate others to know that memory impairment, memory loss, and cognitive change is not a normal part of aging, which I think is a big myth and is one of the challenges in working with older adults, is the myth that dementia is a normal part of aging or memory loss is a normal part of aging, which it isn't. So I think that is one of the challenges, not in working with older adults individually, but just in our society of helping to educate people that that's not normal, but that it's common and that we need to provide support for those individuals. After being there for 4 years, I welcomed the opportunity to accept a position with Hospice of Cincinnati. So I'm now a home care social worker on the west side of town, and I have the wonderful opportunity to meet people who are now facing the end of their life, and to help provide emotional support to them and the people who are close to them as they are facing this last journey of their lives. So definitely predominantly older adults. Of course, there's always some younger people in there, but it is humbling to be welcomed by people at this point in their lives. And often I get to hear such amazing stories about the lives they've lived and what they're thankful for, maybe what they wish they could change, and if there are things left unsaid, to maybe help guide them to being able to say that. So definitely a wonderful career path. I'm hopeful that I have landed where I will stay until I can retire. I enjoy working with older adults. I just find their wisdom and their experiences teach me new things every day, and definitely teach me to um, make sure I don't have any regrets when I am there, get to their ages. Just to live life to the fullest as they have, and make sure to say the important things to people now, so that I don't look back and say, I wish I had. So that's me.
Thank you so much. I look forward to our next question with all of you guys so far. And Liz, tell us about you.
I, like Megan, graduated in 2012 with part of the Hartford program. I had actually gotten my bachelor's in social work from UC as well, and during that bachelor's internship, interned with Crossroads Hospice, where it kind of just all worked out. It kind of fell into my laps as far as healthcare and gerontology goes. When I was looking to decide on a major, my grandfather was in hospice. And then when I found a major, one of the professors, we had to volunteer. And she set up this website, or sent us this website, and Crossroads Hospice was on there. So I started as a volunteer and kind of worked my way in as their first intern in 2008. Needless to say, when I left there, I felt like hospice was my calling. I knew medical social work was the way to go, or at least for me. So I went back and got my master's through UC with the Hartford program, and actually, again, fell into my lap. Less than a year later, started at Crossroads Hospice, where I spent the first 9 years of my social work career. And similar to what Megan was saying, I um, had been there so long that I think the west side was the only side I didn't touch. But resources throughout the county were huge. I went from Oxford to Ripley to Winchester. So just the multitude of counties that can affect our seniors in different ways, whether it be tax levies or anything like that. It's just amazing how different every county is, and unfortunate sometimes. So I was at Crossroads for a long time as a in the field social worker. They did not have an inpatient unit, so I was in the community making home visits and building those connections and helping, just like Megan said, ease your way through this journey, whether that's not easy. So I know these ladies probably get the same question: how could you work with older adults? Like, how could you work with terminal individuals that you know are dying and all this stuff? But I can't work with kids. Like, I I learned that part of social work school was learn your boundaries, and my sister is amazing with kids in social work. I do not have that comfort level. So being at Crossroads for so long, I had some life changes happen, and I got the opportunity to apply at TriHealth Cancer Institute, Cancer and Blood Disease Institute. So I have been there since October last year. So I just celebrated my 1-year anniversary. As a social worker there, we're part of a supportive care team, which consists of social work, counseling, financial counseling, nutrition, chaplain services. So the social work role is really, what can we do to make treatment, appointments, scheduling, and stuff easier for you? What can we do, whether it's transportation, figuring out insurance issues, hooking you up with our financial counselor, arranging long-term care, or making that hospice referral, anything like that. And coming from hospice with with the majority older population, now I'm kind of creeping into those pre-seniors that have even more, they fall into that donut hole even more. So it's almost as if you just, like, when I know what I want to do to plan ahead for my family and everything, but while also remaining human and connecting with these people that have real issues, whether it's disability or, I mean, we can help people apply for disability, but we can't control how fast the money comes in, sort of thing. So it's just kind of being with people through all of that. Not all of my patients are terminal. We do have a palliative care team, and I forgot to mention one of the best things. I think what drew me to the health and gerontology field was the interdisciplinary aspect of it. Like the other ladies have hit on, just being able to combine minds of different disciplines, whether it's the doctors, the nurse, the dietitian, anything like that. It really helps to, like, step back and get the big picture. And sometimes I think social workers can bring that to the field, to the perspective, to really look at everything that's involved: community, family, resources, everything. So I think that's why I love what I do.
Mhm. You guys all sound like great multitaskers. And connectors, anyway, the next question, and I guess we can just go through the rotation and back at you then, Shannon. And I can repeat the question for you guys if you want, but we're wondering if you guys could discuss more specific experiences. And I'm sure anyway, I think you've probably thought of some of these before tonight, but specific experiences regarding your time working with patients with cognitive disorders, end of life care, and supporting patient wellness as they continue to live in their communities. Something specific. You guys I feel like I'm getting the gist and we have this general area. So, how about some of your case examples? Go ahead, Shannon.
Yeah, so the thing that I think has been really important to me, and something that I would stress if I'm encouraging someone to go into the field of aging, is the versatility, how there's a lot of variety in the day and in the type of work that you do. Every day is kind of different, and you just meet the needs of whatever is in front of you at the time. So I think more specifically in my role, something that I've enjoyed doing that maybe is a little bit different from the day-to-day kind of healthcare and healthcare team work is when I meet with folks that are newly diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease or any type of dementia. One of the first things that we talk about is brain health and how to live a brain healthy lifestyle. And, there's no cure for dementia. There's no real way to slow it down or to reverse it. So what can you do to kind of take control of your own wellness and make other parts of your lifestyle healthy, and just have as much brain health as you can? And a lot of those are the basics: healthy diet, exercise, getting good sleep. But one of the things that I've been fortunate enough to tap into is the great benefit of socialization. And I think all of us kind of understand that on a much deeper level now, given the last couple years when we've been more isolated. I think it's really been a lesson in empathy for people that are isolated most of the time, including our seniors. So something that I've really been fortunate to do is to provide social engagement opportunities for people that haven't already had them. So I've really gotten to educate the libraries around town, the museums, the zoo, working with docents or volunteers to educate about dementia and about how to communicate with someone that has it, so that then we can offer programming related to whatever that location is, the Contemporary Art Center, and offer programming there for people with dementia and their families. So It's really been a wide variety of opportunities. And the thing I think is so neat is in all the programs I've done with the museums and with the zoo and the libraries, you know, they do so many programs that that work with different populations. They have programs for children, programs for, you know, Children's Hospital, you know, school age kids, lots of different populations that they touch. But each one of them would come up to me after I would bring my group from the Alzheimer's Association or from the work that I do now with Episcopal Retirement Services, and just say how much they enjoyed working with or touring my group, and that I think sometimes people are a little uncomfortable or a little nervous. They're not sure that they have what it takes to communicate with someone with dementia, or it maybe unsettles them a little bit. And so that was really heartening to me that there were so many positive experiences, and it not only was touching the lives of the people who participate and engage in the programming, but people that are just doing their volunteer gig, or, you know, being a docent at the museum, and that they loved it so much. So again, I mean, that's not necessarily a case study, but I think just highlights more specifically the variety in the work that you can do. I think that I've done a lot of individual education with families. When I meet with a couple, let's say, and the husband was just diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and I'm talking to them, you know, very specifically about who's going to manage their finances from here on out, when's it going to be time to stop driving, you know, very specific things, to then offering community education with the basics of dementia and how to be a good dementia friend, or how to be a good neighbor of someone that has dementia. So wide variety, lots of different opportunities and experiences. It's really challenged me, but I've learned what I love along the way too. So it's been really cool.
I think, again, Megan, you had talked about collateral, and I think that it does have a collateral spread of information and of knowledge to the bystanders that helps the community, right? Thus the word social, I guess, in social work. Megan, what are some examples that you wanted to provide for us?
Yeah, you know, I in all of my positions, I have encountered older adults, many who are quite old, who cognitively have no impairment, to those with significant cognitive impairment. And it's fascinating. It's a, you know, Alzheimer's disease is awful because it slowly robs people of their memories and their independence, and it really is awful. But it is amazing to me how I've seen families, friends, social services, community organizations, strangers even, come to support a person with cognitive impairment. So it's interesting. Right now, I am working with a person who, kind of a loner for all of their life, not somebody to engage with others much, had a significant other who passed away several years ago, stayed in their own home, just not a social person. And earlier this year approached neighbors, been neighbors for more than 25 years, approached neighbors who they just had a wave across the street relationship with. And the person said, I'm hungry and I'm thirsty and I can't find my keys and I can't find my phone. And these neighbors, who, like I said, just waved across the street, got involved and found that this person for several years had been declining cognitively, had just stopped working, not retired, just stopped working. So had no income, had not retired, does not have any retirement income coming yet. The house was a hazard, was very hungry, was not paying bills, so was definitely behind, was going to lose their car. Utilities were going to be turned off, and also had been diagnosed with a life-threatening illness and was unable to follow up with treatments on a regular basis because they were forgetting when the appointments were. And these neighbors have stepped in and made the home safe, are with this person at least twice a day. They're very good at balancing and respecting this person's lifelong personality of not being a social person with providing the care that they need right now. Are now healthcare power of attorney, our financial power of attorney, are working on getting this person their retirement benefits, and enroll the person in hospice care to have comfort care through the end of their life. It's amazing. That's uncommon, to have strangers step in like that. But it is an example of how people do step in to help support a person with cognitive impairment as they experience these changes. It's progressive. People will continue to decline, but it can be less negative and less difficult when there is a good support system. And I think that's where social workers working with older adults can play such a vital role in supporting the person with cognitive impairment, supporting the people in their lives. Caregiving is hard. Having somebody ask you the same question every 3 minutes is very draining. So by support, we can support the person with cognitive impairment, support the caregivers, connect with resources. So adult day centers, meals, counsel and aging services, and if the need is there, eventually to help find the appropriate senior living community or nursing facility. Those are all important roles. And I think I might be jumping ahead here, but also
No, that's okay. Actually, it's helping with the flow, honestly.
Yeah.
Liz, you're going to get a chance too.
Yeah, my last thing was just advocating for the people who are providing that direct care. So whether it's family members who are doing that one-on-one care, or the people, mostly women, who are making a career out of providing care in people's homes or facilities. I think advocating for fair, better wages and benefits for those people will really help our older adults with cognitive impairment.
Thanks, Megan.
Mm-hmm.
So, Liz, what would you say that did you have any specific experiences that you wanted to relay about the cognitive disorders, or even especially, in your role of end of life care, supporting wellness, and then maybe, kind of bounce back to some of what Megan was already touching on as well?
Yeah, so initially what came to mind is the myths of cognitive impairments, or like when people just assume that someone has some memory issues, when in reality it could be as simple as they can't hear, so they can't
Gosh, did you know
understand
I'm an
what's
audiologist?
yeah.
Are you trying to that's why I'm interested, why I love what you guys do, and it's so, so important. So I'm sorry.
No, so I mean, prime
I'm so sorry.
example, I got involved in a hospice situation where it was a very unsafe home. Our admission nurse went out and didn't really know what to do because the gentleman wasn't making sense. It was a hoarding situation, and his partner had been his caregiver for 40 plus years. And he was just at a loss. He said, I don't know what to do. I can't get him to take a shower. I can't get him to do anything. So I went out after the admission. He was admitted with, but he was admitted, and then as I'm there with the nurse the next day, I realized he's not answering our questions, not because he doesn't know the answer, but he can't hear us. The closer you got, the more he gave back. So, long story short, the hospice route really benefited him in that time frame to access those resources, maybe really get educated on his condition so that he could make decisions on what he wanted to do with his care. Eventually, he graduated off of hospice and got hearing aids and is living a very social life. I think he had 2 or 3 volunteers through hospice before he graduated. Um, but that's just like the myth that, like the ladies were saying, memory loss isn't always normal. And I think that in my role at TriHealth, where I am now, we have supportive care or specialty care coordinators, which is very similar to what insurance companies have recently started doing as their care managers, whether you have Humana or Medicaid, Medicare. A lot of times there are care managers where my first role as a social worker in doing the assessment is assessing your support system, just like they've said. What support do you have? What support can we lean on if we need to? And for those who have kind of isolated themselves, okay, but we can find support somewhere else, whether that be through your insurance, through your doctor's office social worker, or your care manager through council on aging sort of thing. So I think that those care managers do a great job of more ongoing case management. And as we said in hospice, like more eyes and ears so that you can really pick up on he's missing more appointments. Something's wrong with the medication, the delivery method's wrong. So really having more strangers involved in care who have come from the outside, and a lot of times people are less guarded when it's not family and it's not friends, and they can kind of admit, yeah, I have forgotten to take medication, or I haven't taken a shower in a couple days. So it's interesting what people will share with you when they become comfortable. And as far as resources, I think, like I said, the first thing I assess is support, and then I instantly look at community resources, and unfortunately, some are lacking. Like I was saying, depending on what county you're in, each county can decide what they do with their tax dollars. So um, sometimes that's challenging, but just constantly educating people about resources that are available. There have been patients who have been terminal and they've been caring for their adult children this entire time, and their adult children may be capable of caring for themselves, but they're kind of stuck that now they want to make sure that their kids are going to be okay. So just educating those resources as well, that there are programs in place for adult children who need help. There are programs in place for adults who are looking for employment and housing and such, and your children won't be alone. And so
So would you
really,
say you start with the county then? Start with the county that they reside in?
if I can
Or
get a feel for their support system and if it's lacking, a lot of times my first call is the county, because depending on resources, because some people, I mean, they're paying into it with their tax dollars, so it's a service that they should be eligible for without having to pay out of pocket. And then I usually look towards their insurance. What benefits do they have? I'm coming from hospice, and Megan can tell you, when individuals switch to hospice, your insurance benefits change and it opens up a whole new world. Whereas for those who aren't on hospice, which is the majority of us, there are several different hoops and plans and stuff we have to go through. So I am finding, thankfully, insurance companies are broadening their supplemental plans to include things such as transportation, care management, nutrition benefits, even like acute meal delivery sort of thing.
Anything
So
specific to minorities? And then, I'm gonna kind of, you guys think about this too, Shannon and Megan, like if you have some things to add, right? Like, is there anything specific to minorities in these resources?
I say minority as far as location, as far as like outskirts and just getting people connected with the resources once they're there, no matter what their demographic is, and having that conversation about there are resources if you're willing to look into them with me, or if you're willing to let me help you look into them. So really just breaking that ice with people who maybe feel isolated, no matter what minority they come from,
Okay.
just working with them.
Do you want to, could you jump in, Megan? Do you want to jump in on any of this? We're actually kind of hybriding the second question with the third question, and talking about advocating for aging populations with minority care and their access, or helping them get that access, and then what resources are available. And I think, you guys have touched on a lot of those, but did you have any other ones specific to some of this stuff, Megan?
Well, I do think that one, access to care is affects a lot of people, a lot of minority groups. Just having that access to care and having the adequate providers and qualified providers out there. So especially for older adult care, there's not an excess of geriatricians out there for sure. Geriatric medicine is not one of the flashy medicines that new physicians are going into. It is working with older adults. It is seeing decline. It's helping. It's helping. You hope the goal is quality of life through a person's last day of life, but geriatrics is just not. It's not as exciting as some of the other fields. So I worked. We had a lot of medical students and residents come to the Health and Aging Center to spend a day or a week with us, just to learn about a geriatric assessment. And one, in the 4 years I was there, one said they were interested in geriatric medicine. Everyone else was pulmonology, endocrinology, surgery. So I think that is a key problem, is just having enough providers out there to serve our growing older population. Older adults, at a time, and maybe still are a minority, but we're definitely growing that population, so that as an age cohort, they are becoming a larger age group, but certainly the providers are not there. And then it's a matter of, how many resources are out there. Right now, if a person qualifies for some assistance, home care assistance through Council on Aging, there are not the providers, the home care aides to staff that. People are waiting a long time to get that service. So there's just those barriers where it's just there aren't enough people out there. That goes along with they're not being paid really what we want them to be paid. They are providing intimate, personal care. They're in our older adults' homes. They are sometimes the only person who's interacting with them on a daily basis, and we're not paying them more than what they could maybe make at a restaurant now or something. So I think that's kind of my passion, is that as a social worker, I want to advocate for fair pay and benefits for those people who are making this their career and their passion, to serve our older adults, to help them stay in their homes, or whatever they call home, to make that the most comfortable and safe place that can be.
Shannon, do you want to weigh in any other
Sure.
detail?
Yeah, so I think, Megan brings up such great points about access and, the importance of fair working wages for the people that are serving our most vulnerable population. And then, you know, Liz talking a little bit about county tax dollars and resources too. I think from my perspective, being a available advocate to advocate for all those things, but also to do a needs assessment to the community. What are the needs of the communities? You know, I don't think you can always assume that you know what the needs are, and maybe you have to know who is the best person to be the messenger there. Is it better to access people through their faith communities? Is that maybe a more trusted avenue for communication or for health education? You know, I think you have to really know the individual communities and know the people that you're serving in order to know what is the need and how can I then make that happen or bridge that gap. Through my work at the Alzheimer's Association, I was really lucky to have the opportunity to, we had every year we went up to Columbus for Memory Day and would talk to our state senators and state representatives about, you know, passing a certain bill or just educating them on the importance of, you know, voting in with people with cognitive issues in mind and with caregivers in mind. And it was really fascinating just to understand a little bit more how state government works. But I think having that level of advocacy was really neat to see. But then sometimes I felt like the more impactful advocating I was doing was within my own organization, speaking up about a specific case or, you know, on that healthcare team that you are sometimes disagreeing with the nurses or with the administrators, and you might be the only voice that is saying what you're saying, but it's still important to say it. So I think the challenges of advocacy, both internal and external on a macro level, is first understanding the problem and understanding the need, and then just doing whatever you need to do to help bridge that gap.
Mhm. I mean, I can't help but, you know, think of my own family and the situations that I see now working with an aging population versus previously working in pediatrics, and how often I tell people, could you, or my family, please ask for the social worker. And so you know, you don't think about, well, maybe before COVID, I didn't think about, well, maybe there's not one, right? And so now it puts that into perspective, I think, for everyone, right? How many people, and again, I think with Jim Gruber's fund and trying to have that student advocacy piece and education for students to realize, even if this isn't your, you know, your passion, that you owe it to your brothers and sisters in, you know, social work arms to be there for each other too. Do you find that when you access the services available, that people are responsive at those service levels? Do you feel like just in terms of also filling those positions that are open? I don't know if I'm making sense, but when you call to the county, right, to ask for particular services, do you feel like somebody who has passed a levy, or that when these things start to roll in the county, that it really gets rolled out government wise?
I think they're doing the best they can. I really do. I think they're trying to answer our referrals as soon as possible. I think they are struggling with not enough people and not enough money, just as a lot of sectors are right now. But I think it's telling, you know, that Dr. Van Loon shared that a gentleman from Council on Aging, you know, who was in her class today to talk about specific, you know, work with the aging population, was saying, oh, we need care managers, we need case managers. I think they're doing the best they can with their own limited resources. I think it's something that our community as a whole just needs to consider. We have a huge baby boomer generation, plus the generation before them who are all living longer. A lot of them are outliving the retirements that they saved if they were able to. A lot were not able to save for retirement. A lot are still working into old age, but we have these large groups who need more resources. And we just need to find the people and the money to be able to provide them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I think that, you know, aging, if we're lucky enough, we're all aging. We're all gonna get there. So, you know, when I would advocate on a state level, it's a nonpartisan issue. You know, if the funding is there, they want to be able to support the programming. It's really it's often comes down to financial issues because I think we can all see ourselves in those shoes. We're all empathic to what's going on when you lose your ability to care for yourself in the way that you always have. So yeah, I think that the heart is there, the people are getting there, and it mostly comes down to money.
Mm-hmm. Are there any other salient points that you feel like if someone's watching and you had something to share? I feel like, gosh, just even hearing your examples and the potential outcome from what you've already laid out about what you do um, is motivating, right? I think and it helps you with your own humanity, even if you don't want to think about that part. It's still just hearing about your day or about the things that you've accomplished and how you've moved through to find your niche, I think is really impactful. And totally appreciate that you're here to share that with cats. You're chatting with the cats about it. Anything else that you'd want to talk about or say about advocacy of minorities?
I would just say that the aging population is always going to be here, no matter what minority or majority you are. That, like they were saying, if we're lucky, we're all going to be aging. So when things kind of start to hit home a little more, whether it be somebody got this cancer diagnosis or someone got this dementia diagnosis, or we need to start looking at assisted living for grandma sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That has all happened since my involvement with social work. So before and during, and it hits different whether you're a professional versus in the community. But I think that's what brings us back to why we love what we do, is because it is so important to have that support, no matter, even if you don't feel it anywhere else. So even if it is your case manager through your CareSource insurance, but you know that you can call on them and they'll help you figure it out.
Mm-hmm. You have someone to listen.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we thank you. I just wanted to read a comment from Tina Whalen that she says, thanks to all three presenters. And and for me, for sharing experiences and insights. Your passion and work is very much appreciated, although not always acknowledged. Thank you so much for doing this program for us tonight as well and volunteering your time. Of course, this is a source of advocacy and getting the word out. And you're great advocates for our aging population. And Dr. Whalen is grateful, as am I. And I know, many in my own family are as well. And I'm sure that people joining us tonight are probably the choir on this. But maybe we can share when we get back to people who haven't heard that song, I hope. And we're reaching the top of the hour. If Dr. Van Loon, would you want to close us out, or is there anything you would like to add? Kind of calling you out after we've gotten you off video.
That's quite all right. I just really want to thank the panel, not only for what they said tonight, but for sticking with this profession and being such great representatives, as I think many of our students go on to be. And I also just want to say that for those, if anyone's listening and they're interested in aging, you know, we're a community of people who are, you know, willing to talk more and try. And so if anybody wants to talk more, they can contact me and I can get you in touch with these fabulous people if they, and I'm sure they'd be willing to be, you know, of value to you if they can, in trying to help you figure out your path into this. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Yay, Dr. Whalen's giving us the clap. And again, thanks to Bree for coordinating this and being our behind the scenes operator and being able to present these and these ideas with Chats with Cats. I hope that folks are looking forward to, for instance, your spring symposium, right, that you have coming up.
Well, we're not quite sure when, but you will know about it when it is. Yes.
Right, your live symposium. Bree says, thanks for a great presentation. I reiterate that and thank you all for everything you do, and have a nice night. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.